Oh, randomly, I was hanging out with my buddy last night, and he asked me about Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, yeah. Fucking
Yeah.
Riley's been on that shit so hard.
That's cool, man. And she's liking it.
Yeah, yeah. She's. I mean, it's just D&D, you know.
That's what. Yeah, and it's all online, right?
I no. I mean, it's just a video game. I mean, I think you do have to get. It's like Blizzard, where you have to like start an account in something to play it.
And can you play co-op?
Yeah, you can
Like,
play
can you?
co-op.
So you can make your own campaign, right? Or like you can make your own team
Yeah, you
of
can
players,
like have your own party of players.
right? Yeah, man. Machias is like super into fantasy novels and stuff, but he was saying like he never got into turn-based games. He never got into like D&D or any of that. And I was like, man, I had a lot of fun playing D&D, and I was like telling him all about it. And and he was like, have you heard of Baldur's Gate? I was like, I have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, I would so be fucking down because he's playing like Starfield right now.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks fucking sick, but he has this like crazy PC setup. Like he has a super nice computer. But he was like, dude, I'm down to play Baldur's Gate. I'm like, dude, yes. And he said that he has two other friends that have been talking about it. I'm like, boom, that's a campaign right there.
Oh shit. Oh
Yeah.
fuck. I I guess so.
Yeah. I was like, four people. That's enough.
Yeah, I've heard that if you start doing multiplayer, you can't get the other players' characters out of the party. Like they can't leave the party.
So you
Um,
have to like finish the,
So it's kind of got to be like its own like save file, you know.
right.
But yeah, man, that would be. I bet that would be a really sick time. Just like
Yeah,
four players that don't have to worry about like anyone DMing.
exactly. And it's like, all of Machias, like Machias is a super stoner, super cool dude. Like he's your age. So
Oh
he's
shit.
a little younger than me. I think he's actually younger than you. He's 25.
20, bro, you're like hanging out with minors.
Yeah, the only reason we even know each other is because of work.
Yeah,
He worked at
that
at
happens.
the last agency I worked at. So yeah, man, he's super fucking cool, dude. He's like definitely, like beyond his, like he doesn't act like what I would imagine a 25-year-old to act like. Like he doesn't like going out. He doesn't really like he doesn't party, like he just loves to talk
Some
and
people are
smoke
just
weed.
yeah,
Yeah.
fucking homebodies just chilling, you know?
Super homebody.
Yeah.
And he just loves to like get high and talk, and but we'll play Super Smash and all that shit. But yeah, he's like he'll read like an 800-page book in a week. Like he just
Fuck,
reads all
man.
day. Yeah.
That's
So he's super into the fantasy shit, and we were talking about all that stuff, and then I was like, "Oh, what about D&D, and what about this and what about this?" And then we got to Baldur's Gate. I was like, "I think we're kind of perfect. Like we're a perfect group because I'm assuming your friends are also stoners
yeah.
and like around your age and probably like are also into fantasy shit. So I'm just like, this is going to be a perfect group of four people who like probably won't take it that seriously, because Machia said that the reason he hasn't played D&D is because he doesn't like the idea of having to like play a character for an extended period of time.
Well,
And I'm like, I totally get that.
you are gonna do that though.
That's what I told him. I was like, you kind of have to
I
like
don't know
get
how else
into it
you
a little bit.
play D&D.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, you have to let go of that because it feels cringe, and then it gets fun once you like let go of
Like,
the
yeah, in our campaign that we were doing, it was kind of awkward at first, but eventually I did a bunch of stupid fucking voices, and I think I made y'all feel a little more comfortable. With
yeah.
doing
Well,
less
I
stupid
started
voices.
drinking too.
That helps a lot.
It
Not
helps a lot.
not
Like
enough
I
people
would have
talk
a
about
bottle of
that.
wine or something like right by my computer every time we played, and I would just be like, Christina would just look at me sometimes, be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I would just I got so into it, man. It was so much fun. But I'm gonna have to channel that energy in a couple weeks because Christina convinced me to go to a murder mystery dinner.
Oh boy,
Yeah, yeah.
that's uh
Dude, I would normally not do it, but like I'm down to try it out because she really wants to give it a shot. But I straight up told her, because she said like she looked up the rules or like what to expect or whatever, and it's
yeah.
like you're going to have to interview the other guests, and you're going to have to put clues together and work together to figure out who did it and why and all this stuff. And I was like, immediately when I was like, I have to talk to strangers and pretend I have to be a character and they're going to be a character. And like all of it just screamed like community theater people. Like those are
Sure.
the types of people that would be really into it, you know?
Yeah.
And that just makes me like automatically feel uncomfortable. But I told her, I was like, the only way I'm going to do it, or the only way that it sounds kind of like fun, is if we get friends to go with us. Cause then I have like more people to play off of,
Yeah.
you know? And I have, for some reason, I thought I have a friend here, Jenny, who I've known for a really long time. And she was the first person I thought of, but like, she's so hard to get to hang out. But I'm like, let me see if Jenny would be down. And within 5 minutes, she said absolutely, and she bought her tickets. And like her and her husband are gonna go with us. And I was like, hell yeah, because it's not just, it's like it's gonna be on the 28th of October, so it's like a Halloween murder mystery,
Yeah.
and it's at a brewery. So
Ooh.
there's gonna be food and beer pairings during the dinner. So it's like, okay, we're gonna be drinking, you know. Like,
I think it's gonna be really fun.
I think it's gonna be fun. Yeah. But I'm gonna have to let go. I'm gonna have to do what I did for D&D. I'm gonna have to like not worry about how dumb I look. You know?
I don't know, you know? Like just you have to lean into it.
You have to
And
lean in. You have to like let go.
I'd say the main difference is like first off, like not knowing these people is a big kind of downside.
Yes.
Also you're only gonna be doing this for like a couple hours one time, whereas like D&D, like we have a long time to like kind of get used to things and kind of figure out what's going on.
The campaign that you designed was way longer than I expected it to be.
I think it was about a year,
Jesus
if I remember
Christ.
correctly, and
That's so long.
it's not even long for a proper campaign.
Really? For one campaign a year?
Maybe it's average. I probably like my only regret is I
sounds
should have
about
made
right.
it shorter, honestly. You
Yeah.
know, because like we were so close to the end. We were like 2 or 3 sessions away, and then it kind of just like fizzled out. People were like canceling, and we couldn't get together. And
Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, every time we talk about this,
hey, we're here, buddy.
it's the reason
We're right
why this
here.
podcast exists.
Thank you, D&D and Baldur's Gate.
Yes. And on that note, what's up, buds? And welcome to the new episode of the Earbuds Podcast, the podcast where two friends talk about one album for a certain amount of time. We are your hosts, Lucas, the General Specific Indrakovs, here with my buddy, my bestie,
Boom.
my bottom bitch, Ash.
That's me. That's me.
I had to go with it. Ash, bottom bitch, Hannerhand.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I love being your little bottom bitch every other Thursday, bud.
But you know that's like a term of endearment.
No, I really wish it wasn't. I wish it was a little more derogatory, if I'm being honest.
I can get there if you want me to.
Please.
Challenge.
I know my colors, you know? I know green, yellow, red.
Huh?
You know, and like sex.
There's
sex
colors.
goes. Yeah, it was like green, like keep going, yellow, slow down, red, stop, that kind of thing.
Oh, y'all have different sex. Your generation.
What do you? I guess y'all have like safe words.
Yeah, we just like, or we get mad at each other.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Just fucking stop.
Oh my god, bro! What is your safe word and what is your favorite safe word?
My safe word that I use is keep going. And my favorite safe word is don't stop.
Okay. See, I think we kind of figured out where the mad, angry stuff is coming from.
Yeah, because
we got a little miscommunication.
She doesn't seem to get it.
Yeah, right. And it's like you don't tell her, but like she should know.
We talk about it all the time. I'm like, hey, last night.
What was that?
Yeah, I think I have an infection now. Does this look infected?
That's my favorite safe word.
Dude. Does this look infected? Great album.
Is it?
Yeah, fuck yeah, it is. You don't think that's a good record?
I haven't listened to that. I don't listen to a lot of Sum 41 these days, you know?
Damn. Me and Christina have, on multiple occasions, jammed out to Sum 41. And that album is so good, man. It holds up.
Fuck, man.
They
I'll
might
check
be
it out.
they might be a good band for like concerning catalogs because they have changed their sound quite a bit through the years. Too. Like they got more metal at a certain point.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember when I got up to Chuck.
Yeah, same. And I didn't listen to anything after that.
Yeah.
And Chuck was like all right, but it was heavier, I remember. I don't remember liking it very much.
It was a little heavier. I believe it was inspired by them being locked down in like a foreign country during a terrorist raid.
Like for real?
Yeah, no, like that's the actual story behind the album. I don't remember where they were. I don't remember the exact circumstances, but quite a thing to base your album off of.
I have not heard that story. That seems like I should know that story.
Check it out.
I'll look it up. But today we're going to be talking about not Sum 41. We're talking about an album that I have been wanting to talk about on this show since 2020. And I forgot how much I love this album. It is Cease to Begin by Band of Horses. Came out in 2007, and that I must have started listening to it just when it came out.
It's their second debut album.
Yes, it was their second major label record. Interestingly enough, the whole band from the first album, except one guy, quit after that record.
Yeah, I had no. I've heard Band of Horses around, you know, but I had no idea how kind of tumultuous the band membership has been. It seems like second album to like fourth or fifth, it's been pretty consistent. But
yeah, it does seem like they kind of a lot of the people stuck around, but even the record, even after this album, they had different musicians touring the record. Weirdly enough,
I had no idea it was such a kind of one man thing.
but you know it kind of is. But then you look at the writing credits, and it's three people on every single song get writing credits. So like I think the first album was I think the first album was a little different. The first album to me was a lot more like Southern sounding.
Yeah. I read on an interview that he said this album's a little more like alternative, a little more rockin' than the first kind of like country based album.
This was much more indie than the first one. It's kind of like how Kings of Leon, like their progression that they did. Like they started out kind of more Southern rock. Yeah. So it's just so crazy that like every band member left except the singer and guitarist. And he just got two other people to join him and wrote a solid indie rock record. Like, in my opinion, it is so slept on from this era of indie rock where like Arcade Fire was huge and Block Party and all these huge indie bands. Like that was like when indie was at its peak, I think, or starting to get at its peak was like 2007.
Yeah.
You know, where like Modest Mouse was starting to get like really huge at that point. And I think Band of Horses got their flowers at the moment, but I feel like no one really talks about this album. And I don't think there's one bad song on this record.
I also don't think there's one bad song in this record, but I could go to say that there aren't many incredible songs on this record.
You don't think there's a lot of standouts on here? Because I really think there are. I think every song is really good.
I think there are a couple standouts, but I just don't think that... I don't think it's so interesting or captivating an album to kind of go well through time. You know what I mean? After 15 years? 16?
Yeah, 2007, 16 years. Yeah.
Fuck,
oh my
man.
God, that's so crazy to think about.
Holy shit.
Wow. That's crazy.
We need to stop like putting the years of the albums in the reviews.
I know. It's starting to get painful. Like literally like my body just hurts now.
I was 12.
Yeah, dude. I was 20. Yeah, Yeah, I was 20 when this album came out. Yeah, man, and I was super into this record though. Like I also hadn't listened to it in a long time, hadn't thought about it in a long time. Obviously, like "Is There a Ghost" is a song that just comes up
Yeah,
from time to time for me,
yeah.
and I fucking love that song. But the album as a whole, I have not listened to it probably in like 10 years. So I forgot how much I loved it. You know, like
Damn.
listening to it for this show. This is one of the only episodes that I don't have any notes written down, like not one. And I usually write like 2 pages of notes for each episode.
Well, you haven't listened to this album in 10 years. What, like,
Solid 10.
you just, like, it's just so iconic to you that you don't need any notes, or?
Yeah, I forgot how much I loved it. So I forgot how much I just like knew this album front to back. And I didn't realize it, it's kind of it was one of those moments where listening to it again, I was like, oh shit, I listened to this a lot more than I remembered listening to it because I knew every song front to back by heart and not having
Damn.
listened to it for at least 10 years. I was like, holy shit, I forgot how much this was just on rotation at the time.
So were you jamming any other stuff, or was it just this
Yeah,
album?
no. This was my era of indie. So I was all the bands I already mentioned. I was super into all that shit, but I was also getting into like a lot more different hip hop at the time and super into metalcore at that time too.
Fuck.
So, yeah, but then that's when I started hanging out with people in college, right? That's like my second year of college.
Yeah.
So I started like listening to music I'd never even heard of before, like Curtis Mayfield and all this Motown stuff. And so that was like a huge renaissance of music for me.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think the reason why I haven't listened to it in so long is because I've had a second renaissance. I've had multiple moments
We
like
all
times
got
in my
waves, I think.
yeah, exactly. Like multiple moments in my life where it's like something takes over or other things take over. Like when I discovered Zamrock and like psychedelic 70s like uh Taiwanese, psych rock and shit. I'm just like, dude, there's a whole world of music that I
I,
never even knew existed. And so I've gone through multiple different like
I
chapters
bet
like that.
I bet meeting Michael and Luis was quite a renaissance as well.
That was huge for me. But did they like get you to listen to a lot of new stuff too? Because
I I listen to a lot of new stuff because of them. I don't think a lot of it stuck.
um,
But there would be times like before or after the practices, we'd just hang out and they would just put on this like little fucking saucy
weird ass shit.
like some like Jamaican funk or something like that, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And it's just like
Luis
groovy as
those
fuck and you're just like,
Starfunkle. Yeah,
ah.
Luis would put on those Starfunkle playlists on YouTube, and it would be like
Yeah.
Brazilian '60s Brazilian rock music, and you're like, what? And it's just an hour of just bangers. Yeah, meeting them was definitely a huge. They opened me up to a whole new world of music. But man, yeah, it was so awesome listening to this album again, because it was like visiting an old friend. Like I started like just waves of memories of just this time in my life. Like every time I'd heard, "No One's Gonna Love You," like
Mm,
it's like when I was listening to that song, I saw every moment in that era of my life, like in college, where
man.
I heard that song playing. It was just this like this memory book, and it was
Yeah.
really fucking cool and like an experience, man. Like a very very nice experience.
Fuck yeah, man. I'm really
So
glad.
obviously, yeah. So obviously, I'm like very emotionally attached to this record,
Yes.
and so like someone who I mean, you listen to Band of Horses, but like, how into them were you before we decided to listen to this? 'Cause
I'd
it
only
was weird. 'Cause
heard.
I thought this was the album that you loved by them, but then I think you're into another record, right?
I'm not really. Didn't check out any of their records. I kind of got
Oh, okay.
little bits and bops every once in a while. Like
Like you knew cigarettes and wedding bands.
yeah, that was on like Rock Band or something. And
Oh, random.
yeah, right. And then the
Yeah.
funeral, like obviously, like
Oh,
I
so
just
good.
such a great song. I knew it
Yeah.
for a little bit. I was like busking with it. Not
Oh,
a popular one.
really?
Too sad.
Yeah.
People don't really want to like cry or anything when they're just hanging out outside.
The General Specific is probably the best busking song on this record.
Yeah, or like fuck, which one is it? Mary or
Song?
Mary song. Yeah. It's very like country, very
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's what was interesting is like, so their first album was definitely a lot more southern rock inspired, and they kind of like went away from that. But to record this record, they I think they moved from Seattle to back to South Carolina, where the singer was from.
Yeah, which is like it's interesting trying to look into where a band is actually from. Because on their Wikipedia it'll say they're from Seattle, right?
Right.
But like, how much time have they actually spent here? And were they actually in Seattle or were they in like Tacoma?
Well,
Or
that's
like,
the thing. Is like, so many bands move and then base themselves out of that city. So like,
yeah,
there's so many country musicians that move to Nashville after they've already been doing their thing, and they're like, I'm based out of Nashville, because that gives you the little more credibility, right? So like,
but
I
it's
bet
like
these dudes are like, hey man, we're playing shit that every time we play in Seattle, people fucking love us. Like maybe that's what it was.
maybe, man. Like Jimi Hendrix is a big like, oh, Seattle. He's from Seattle. We have Jimi Hendrix Park and Jimi Hendrix statue. But
Oh, I didn't know that somehow.
well, you didn't know that because it's not really what happened. He got
Isn't he
his,
from Detroit or something?
I think he got his start in Seattle.
Okay.
But he was not doing well in the States, and he went to the fucking UK, and he got popular there, and then he came back like a hero, you know?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I would say where you got kind of your come up is where you're going to say you're based out of. But
Yeah,
I
for
don't
sure.
know. It's not like
but
official.
yeah, it's interesting, right? That like they recorded this album in Asheville, North Carolina, and they were just like, I think he wrote it in South Carolina, and it's just kind of it's an interesting thing, like him going back to his roots, but somehow losing more of that Southern country sound and replacing it with like folk music.
Yeah, I'm listening to the General Specific.
Right.
Very folky.
In a dry am I
That-
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very bouncy. It's really simple.
Yeah.
But then they have stuff like I love Ode to LRC.
Yeah.
Like, and is that like a train system in Seattle? I'm wondering what LRC.
It's LRC stands for Little Red Carriage, which I think was like a hotel, and he saw like the guest booklet and journals or something of
Okay.
what people were doing and what they were going through, and this thing has been around for a long time, so he's had like, you know, people will be writing in like the 80s or something, I think.
Oh, it's like is it Post Notes or something? What's the one that people like write their darkest secret? Post Secret? I think it's Post Secret.
Something like that, but like
Something like
whatever
sounds
the original version of that was.
Yeah, it sounds like the OG version.
Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings of people exposing themselves. Exposing the worst things they've ever done.
I guess so.
Yeah. Oh, what you sipping on over there? Oh, pomegranate juice.
You know, I got my palm on me, baby.
I thought it was like a fifth of whiskey. Never mind. But like, I think, yeah, it's interesting. It's just, it's weird to think like that they weren't in Seattle writing this song, because I feel like this is what I would listen to if I lived in Seattle, would be music like this, you know?
Yeah.
But it's cool too, because I don't know if it was the addition of the new members in the band, that this album is kind of not all over the place, but they have a bunch of different genres that they're playing from like one song to the next. You know, it might all might fall under indie, but I feel like there's definitely different subs throughout the album.
There's a couple of different venues of inspiration and different vibes on this whole
Right.
album.
Like No One's Gonna Love You is just this really beautiful kind of quiet love song
Yeah.
that I don't even know like what does it even sound like? You know, it's just an electric piano and you know, it's just so it's interesting to hear that and go like, well, that kind of is its own thing,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know like what that would is inspired by, like where is that coming from? But then like the general specifics, super boppy folk, indie folk music,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then cigarettes and wedding bands is like a really weird rock indie rock song. Same with Ode to LRC. Is There a Ghost? I feel like is one of the best indie rock songs ever written, in my
Fuck,
opinion.
man. Holy shit.
And I think a huge part of it for me is how much I love the singer's voice on the whole album.
It would not be Band of Horses without this guy's voice on it. That's for certain.
It's a type of voice that I normally would not like. It would normally annoy me. But his version, the way that he does it is so just like buttery smooth and clean
Yeah.
and no frills either, you know? And it's just so good, man. And it's like so pleasing on my ears.
Yeah, it works out for some reason. I don't know. I feel like it
And
would
it
also get on my nerves normally.
Right? Because he's really high pitched. It's like
It's like a little nasally in a way.
nasal. Yeah, it could sound really whiny
Yeah.
if he didn't sing it the way he sings it, you know? And I feel like it's just he adds, especially with Is There a Ghost, on Is There a Ghost, he adds so much to the vibe of the song because of his voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's a few songs on here, like No One's Gonna Love You, I think is also like his voice is just so
I would
works
say
so well.
after the voice is the guitar. I think is the next
Yes.
most iconic thing, and maybe to me the last iconic thing about this band.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of like kind of lead guitar stuff on a lot of these songs. Throughout most of it, just kind of like high up on the neck, kind of doing a good couple of notes. I don't know how to describe it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like that was the indie thing at the time. Was like the guitarist is really just adding on sound. It's a lot less of this emphasis on like riffs and solos and like licks and stuff like that. It's more just like I'm just gonna play something really ethereal and kind of soundscapey,
Yeah.
and it's just gonna become this like vibe, and every song just vibes to this indie thing and the tone of it all and everything, and it's just like their guitar tone on this record is so good, like clean,
It is very
acoustic,
good.
distorted, all of it's so good on this album.
This whole album, production wise, is very clean.
The keyboards sound great.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a couple songs with some strings, they sound fucking great. But you're right, like after, you know, with the production's fucking awesome, like, you know, every song, the singer's voice, Ben's voice just works perfectly no matter what kind of sub thing they're trying on every song. Like the guitar sounds great, but then you're right, it's like the drums aren't really anything, you know.
The bass and drums are doing what they need.
The bass and drums are just doing that, staying in the pocket. The bass is just doing that classic rock, like you follow the kick,
Yeah.
right, mostly. And then it's kind of like, yeah, they're just doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
But I guess, is that why some of these songs don't really stick with you? Because
No, I don't think that's the reason at all. I think
explain yourself.
I don't know. I feel like you can, while there are a lot of different influences and there are a lot of different vibes and sounds on this record, it can all be pretty easily put under the umbrella of indie, and it's not like there's a moment that I think is gonna like stick out to you. I think these are all pretty good songs altogether without many I don't know, like parts
Undeniable
to,
songs.
yeah, undeniable, or just like parts to really like pull you in and get you interested.
Yeah.
But
That's, yeah, like I said, man, it's a huge part of this album is it was hitting me at the right time when it came out for me to get really into this stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's the nostalgia of all that. as well. And,
And it also could be just like, it's hard to account for the passage of time. Now there have been so many bands that do this,
that's true. Yeah.
At the time when it was it was much more fresh. And there was...
That's what I mean. I feel like at the time they were one of the best at what they were doing. Like I think that year they were number 47 on the top 50 albums of the year, Rolling Stone.
Damn. Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's a big year for indie, and they made it on that list. And I love on their Wikipedia, it says it was also a minor hit in Scandinavia.
I was like, oh, good
okay.
for you.
Yeah, solid.
Fuck, man. Was there anything else you wanted to say before we get into our nugs/ratings?
Nah, man. Let's hear your rating.
My rating for this album is gonna disappoint you.
I know.
I wasn't there. I listened to this album for the first time 2 or 3 weeks ago. Whenever we decided to do this.
Wow. And Cigarettes, Wedding Bands was the only one you'd heard, or is there a Ghost also?
I'd also heard Is There a Ghost? For whatever reason or another. I don't know where it came from. But I'm going to give this one a... You're not going to like it. I'm going to give it a 6.
Oh, that's...
Where
I'm upset, but I'm going to hold it in.
I know it, like...
I'm going to be professional.
It's rough, right? Because I think both of our rating systems, 5 is like average, right?
Yeah, because 5, I've rated things out of 5 that I still enjoyed some of it.
You still enjoy it. It's like, it's average. It's not horrible. It's not fantastic. But when we do this podcast and we're both bringing in songs, we're both bringing in albums that we have strong feelings about and love, right?
Yes.
So one of us is always going to rate it like 7 or above. And so we get that fucking like Games Radar Cheat Planet ratings where it's like, if it's not an 8, it's trash,
No, but I think I didn't think that this album was going to be as hard of a sell as it ended up being with you. But I knew it was going to be a bit of a, because you're just not into this type of music really at the end of the day.
I mean, I did enjoy the album. I think it's very easy to turn people onto this band and to get people to listen to this album. I think there's something here for everyone. But
I think this is like their album, like their definitive, like
this is who they are kind of thing.
Their ode or whatever.
Yeah. And so, there was a lot of good guitar work. The vocals were very iconic. I feel like the lyrics were a little, they were
not
all
the
right.
best.
They're
fine. Yeah.
They're fine.
Serviceable. Yeah. 6.0. All right.
Yeah. Production was good.
All right. I'm going to take it personal, but
okay. Thanks.
We'll talk about it after off mic.
Cool. As we always do.
As we always do. We always have a recap at the end. Just like, that joke didn't land, man.
I was like,
noted it.
Dude, 12 minutes in, I know you tried to fucking say that shit about the bass, but you were wrong. And
I didn't want to say it at the time, but like, you embarrassed yourself.
Just be careful where you wake up tomorrow.
You might wake up with a horse head in your bed.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff.
Okay, yeah. No actual bodily harm to me. You're not threatening that.
And also no harm to horses. Just, it's a fake horse head.
Right.
But like, it gets the message across.
They're in every Spirit Halloween store. Yeah. All right. Don't get offended.
Come on.
Everyone. All right.
Lucas eats it. It doesn't go to waste.
It's true. I eat everything. I'm like a
You're like a
Native American. I don't waste anything.
Don't leave a single thing tarnished, I guess.
Anyway. Yikes. No, I was gonna say one of the notes that we always go over is like, Lucas, you got to stop doing the 0.666 joke. It's not landing. You gotta. We talk about that every episode.
I say that even when you don't do it. When you don't do it, it's because I told you not to do it.
Yeah, like specifically before an episode.
Yeah, and so What are you trying? What are you doing right now?
I'm gonna give this album an
An
8.666.
8.666.
Yes.
I
Hear me out.
Floor is yours, sir. Go for it.
It was such a formative time in my life. I was in my second year of college. I just went to a new school. I was making all these new friends. I was getting exposed to all this new indie music, which I was like super dismissive of when I first heard it in high school. And it was just such a like huge period of my life. And this album was so like present during that period. So I have a major like emotional connection to this record. And again, it's like I hadn't heard it in so long, and it was just kind of I saw it on my list. And I'm like, oh yeah, I think I loved that album. And then it's like going back. I'm like, oh, this is one of my favorite indie records. Like this is like up there. Like much. It's like I loved it much more than I remembered. So yeah, man, solid 8.666. Like this is
Fuck, man. I feel like you're giving it too much credit, if I'm being honest, but it's your fucking decision at the end of the day.
But every time we do our ratings, we always talk about like the emotional aspect, like your emotional connection to an album.
Yeah.
It's totally fine if you rate it higher than it necessarily deserves objectively, because like
Yeah.
it's good to you, you know? And I mean, to be fair, this album got great reviews, like for the most part. It has a 78 Metacritic rating, but like
That's like trash. It's got to get at least an 80. Come on.
it's like trash. But I'm seeing 4 stars, 8 A minus, 4 stars, 4 stars, 8 out of 10, 7.7 out of 10, 4 stars, 4 stars, 4 stars. Like
Damn.
they did good, man. Even Pitchfork, those fucking cunts,
Hard
gave it a
asses.
7. Yeah. So that's how you know it's good.
Well, fuck, man. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I was gonna be sad if you like listened to it and you were like, oh, it's not as good as I remember. It's underwhelming, you know?
Oh, that's happened a few times, man. Like going back to albums I loved and being like, oh no, I had a bad taste in music.
But not for this band, not for this album.
No, fuck no. So good, man. And again, like it's now resurfaced, you know, so this album's is like on rotation again. Where for some reason the King Gizzard record that we just talked about, like such a good album, it was like pulling teeth to get myself to listen to it every time. This one was like pop it on, like fucking anywhere. When I was in the car, I was working, like, you know, on my like whatever, I was just listening to this album.
It doesn't ask anything of you, you know?
No, it's like almost easy listening.
It's an easy listen. It's a good listen. I gave it a 6, but like I would recommend this to anyone, you know?
Yeah, especially fans of indie rock music. It's just great, man. It's so good. And I don't regret my rating, so you don't win, Ash.
All right, fine. Well, let's talk about
You have no control over me.
Let's talk about our Narnugs and our Narnable mentions. We'll do our Narnable mentions first, and then we'll talk about why we really liked Is There a Ghost and whichever other one we picked.
Right. Yes, Narnable mentions, all of them, except
Fuck, man. You've been
Window
doing that
Blue.
a lot lately.
Yeah. I've been liking albums a lot. We've been picking good ones, but this, I think the only one that was a very forgettable song to me, to the point where I didn't remember it when I was re-listening to this, was the last one, Window Blues.
Really?
I'm like, did I never make it to the end of this record? Like, yeah, that was just a song that just like super, I had no memory of ever hearing it before. And every time I listened to it this time, I was like, okay, it's fine, you know? And that's so funny because that's probably what you thought for most of this album, because you had never heard it before. So after you hear a song, you're like, oh, yeah, no, that's fine. You know?
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it was good. All right. But yeah, that's about it. Like I like all of them except Window Blues is just my least favorite. What about you?
Man, No One's Gonna Love You is one of my Narnurables. I think that's also one of the more popular ones on this record, if I'm not mistaken.
It was the second single, So that makes sense. And it was also, I think, on a Starbucks like compilation
Yeah,
CD.
yeah, I saw that.
So I bet some of our friends who have worked at Starbucks were like forced to listen to this song. Oh, and it was yeah. And then you said Cigarettes, Wedding Bands was in Guitar Hero 5. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked Islands on the Coast. I
Yeah, it
liked
was one that I like didn't remember as well, but I like it a lot too.
Yeah, it just kind of goes hard the whole time. Am I
Yeah.
remembering the right one? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Islands on the Coast is probably the most rocking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um I really liked Mary's song. I love the fucking piano specifically.
Yeah, the piano on No One's Gonna Love You and on Mary's
Yeah,
song,
yeah, 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 yeah.
Cigarettes, Wedding Bands, you're like, oh God. It all sounds so good.
And then I very much enjoyed Window Blues.
Oh,
I especially liked his vocal delivery. There are a good couple times he does some interesting stuff with the melodies on the songs. And I feel like this was one of those times.
yeah, that's part of the reason why one of my Narnugs is the General Specific.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because that na ya na na
Uh-huh. Yeah.
do 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 do, like it's just so like yeah, it is just what it like. I can't think of a more I'm just walking down the street song, just kind of like whistling to myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just it seems like such a cheesy 50s folk song, and but it's got that really good instrumentation because I love it sounds like a grand piano on it, like I know they have keyboards on the songs, but this sounds like that. It has that punch
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to it, and it adds so much oomph to a song that could easily be like kind of
Forgettable, maybe?
ballless, like kind
Sure,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it has no oomph, it has no like ass on it,
Oomfless.
yeah, it's oomphless.
Yeah.
And that grand piano does so much, just add a dun 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 dun, like hitting it really hard. It's great. It's
Yeah.
great. And the it's one of the only songs with acoustic, and I love the way that they like the production on the acoustic guitar. It's just like super clean and bright, but it's not annoying.
Yeah, that can happen pretty easily sometimes.
Super easy, I feel like. Yeah, especially because it'll just like I feel like I'm like super sensitive to it, like it'll like make me have to blink a lot. um, but really the thing that always has sold me on the General Specific is the melody. It's the whole song is just so catchy and fun to sing along with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to hear why you think Is There a Ghost is one of the better fucking indie songs ever written.
I think I think it's such a weird opener for an album. I feel like it's a very like calling your shot type of song, because
Interesting.
there's not a lot of lyrics
No.
in it. He doesn't really sing that much on the song. And there's not a lot of movements or anything. It's just this kind of straightforward rock, like indie rock song for 3 minutes. But I feel like what pushes it over the edge for me in the overall production of it, it's like the reverb that they added to his voice, the way the guitar sounds like it reminded me of like The Edge from U2. It reminded me
Sure.
of his like huge arena stadium guitar sound.
Yeah.
And that's not like an indie thing,
No.
that type of like, it is just so loud and huge, and the drums are really loud and huge too. And like, it just, yeah, man, that song immediately, I was like, what is this? Who are these people? Cause that was just, it wasn't like what anyone sounded like at the time. No one was, outside of someone like U2, like indie wasn't willing to get this rockin', and that song was just like such an eye opener for me. But I got to be honest, I don't think it's my other choice nug. Yeah.
So but it wasn't even an honorable mention?
Oh, I mean, obviously it's an honorable mention. I said all of them are except Window Blues.
Okay.
Yeah, come on.
All right.
Revisionist.
Well, for all those reasons, it's my first Narnug. So there.
I mean, I figured, man. It's so good. It is a flawless song.
I think it's great. It does have like minimal variation in the vocals, but I love how it explodes. I love how it builds through the whole song. I love the guitar work. It's
it
very,
really takes its time, and I love how much it takes its time.
Yes, it's very.
You know?
I feel like I wouldn't be able to write a song like this because I'd be too worried. Like, no one's gonna stick around to hear the whole thing.
Yeah,
you know,
it seems like the last song on a record.
Yeah, a little bit.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Or like a hidden track, like a bonus track.
Yeah, like a hidden
you know?
track. It seems like something like it is just so. It is such a weirdly ballsy way. I feel like for them to start this record that I'm just like, dude, so much respect for them putting this as the first song and just knowing, like that was their lead single. Their lead single was like their first song on the album, which is kind of like really ballsy, you know? 'Cause if that is considered the lead single, that means it's like the most kind of universally good song. So it's like if you're putting that as number one on your album, like every song after that, you're having to compete with number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I think
so I love that.
I think going into Ode to LRC is a great fucking transition, by the way, to immediately like, okay, here's what an actual song of ours sounds like with vocals and stuff.
yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, now onto a real song.
Yeah.
And it's so good. But honestly, I was torn back and forth, but I gotta go with the one that I like singing the most to. And it's No One's Gonna Love You.
No One's Gonna Love You. That makes sense.
Yeah. 1 second. This is an edit point. I'm gonna turn on the fucking light.
Please do. It looks like you're about to get fucking snatched by a ghost.
Yeah, right? This looks like Paranormal Activity.
Yeah. Tell Christina not to do anything scary or I'll piss myself.
Also, I felt like I was like starting to get into my nighttime radio voice.
Hey, that wouldn't be so bad.
This one comes out to Jimmy. Jimmy Ashley wants you to know. Ashley wants you to know that she's not mad at you anymore.
Please come back.
So here is Pollution by Limp Bizkit.
Here's Counterfeit.
But yeah, man, No One's Gonna Love You. I think it's the combination of the piano, the electric keyboard, and the melody. It's like it could so easily be such a cheesy love song, and I love it.
It's really,
and I don't like love songs, you know.
Yeah,
they usually make me cry.
That effect on the guitar, I think, is an interesting choice and one that maybe had a risk of not really working out.
Yeah, that weird like kind of ping pongy reverb that they added to it. Yeah, and I think it could easily annoy the shit out of someone.
Yes.
Did it do that to you?
No, it didn't. But it's not really, that kind of effect isn't used very often, you know?
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of like tremolo. Like you don't hear people using tremolo anymore. So when you hear it, you're like, huh.
Yeah.
Throwback.
I'm
crashing, by the way.
Huh?
I'm crashing right now.
Fuck.
I had a heavy boxing lesson like right before this, so I'm starting to feel it.
I was just counting inventory all day, so I'm also kind of
you bent crashed,
losing focus a little bit. My eyes are kind of going different directions.
Yeah, now I'm listening to No One's Gonna Love You, and it's like
fuck,
I'm starting to like,
man.
Fuck me, dude.
Well, if you want to get
this
on,
is not the right music for now.
If you want to do my second Narnug, maybe we can amp things up a little bit.
Oh, where are we going, baby?
We're going to that second to last song on the record. Explosive start, rocking all the way through. It's Cigarettes and Wedding Bands, baby.
So good. Cigarettes, wedding bands,
That might be my favorite part of the song. Our
The
parents
la
had
dies.
cigarettes, wedding bands, while they la-di-di, they light. I don't know why, just fucking it. The rhyme works so well, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and I never really read the lyrics until this time, and it seems like it's talking about like a fight at a wedding.
Yeah,
Wedding parties getting into a fight. It's so random.
yeah.
I wonder if it's like a personal story.
I don't know, man. It seems like he is kind of a storyteller with his songs. It
Yeah.
seems like he could pull from different people in a way.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, I love this song.
I mean, they have a song called Detlef Schrempf, which like doesn't even reference the basketball player at all, but for some reason it's called that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for him, man. This is your song, bud.
Yeah, but it's interesting because like the opener of Cigarettes Wedding Bands is not really indicative of what the song sounds like.
Well, yeah, on the verses it breaks down a lot. It gets a lot quieter. We have that very tremolo-y delayed guitar, and then the chorus comes in. They la-di-di, comes back to noise sound.
And why can we live so long?
Yeah.
The drums are great. I think that is one of the standout drum songs on the album too.
It's explosive, man. It needs to be what it needs to be.
The drums have a great like swing kind
Yeah.
of waltzy thing that they're doing and really splashy on the cymbals and everything. It is really, it's kind of perfect for the song.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I was a little hard on the drummer. He's good. He does what he's supposed to be doing. Yeah, he's all right. Well, we mentioned a band earlier that their drummer like sucked when I saw them live. I can't remember now. Anyway,
Deftones.
no, their drummer is sick live, dude.
He sucks.
Don't even talk about the Deftones drummer, bro, because like you don't even know.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, back off.
Oh,
Go listen to fucking Saturday Night Wrist and then Call Me Back.
nice.
That's like
Is that
considered
like
one of their worst albums.
cool?
Yeah.
It took a while to think of a bad Deftones album.
I know. I literally had to think of their one bad record, which I actually like. And with that said, thanks so much for listening, everyone. This has been another installment of the Earbuds Podcast. And, we have an Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere you can find it.
We're everywhere and nowhere,
We're everywhere you can find it. Earbuds Podcast. What are we listening to next time?
Man, I don't know. You know what? It's fucking time. We're doing stuff bi-weekly now. We got the time to listen to some albums. I want to do fucking Koi Child by Koi Child. Sir.
I don't even think I've heard this.
Australian rap band, hip hop
Whoa.
jazzy fucking group.
Okay. I'm down.
With some psychedelic tendencies every once in a while.
That's better than suicidal tendencies.
Most of the time, yeah.
Yeah. Those are the tendencies you want.
It's a bit of a long album, but they got some great shit on here, man. And I can't wait for you to listen to it and hopefully enjoy it.
Koi Child by Koi Child?
Koi Child by Koi Child.
Heard.
And with that, thank you all for listening. We do this every week. If you don't see every episode, maybe that's your fault.
Maybe that's on you.
Maybe that's on you. Maybe think
We have
about
like 130 episodes or something. So
think about bettering yourself.
yeah. Maybe, yeah. Up your media intake.
It wouldn't,
at least.
It also wouldn't hurt to throw some money our way, would it? Really.
I wouldn't be bothered.
I think $5 a week isn't that much to ask for at all.
For a listen.
I
We'd get like $30 a week.
pretty
No, we'll have that fucking
dry off my eyebrows for that.
get your eyebrows done. Not that they need to be.
But I fucking, you know how much effort I put into fucking threading these fuckers every week?
You micro thread your eyebrows every week.
Every week they just get tangled so easily.
They're so brambly.
Yeah, you know, they're just curly.
Oh god, that's gross for some reason. Curly eyebrows.
Anyway.
All right, gotta go.
Lucas, this was good.
This was good.
Bye, buddy.